Okay, Chris.
All right, here we go. All right, so how's everyone doing? That sounds good. All right, how's everyone doing?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to be talking about what is CrossFit. And many of you have been doing CrossFit for a long time. Like I know Albert, you've been doing it for about 13 years, right? But in many instances, when we talk about what is CrossFit, some people would say, well, we just like go super fast and go super hard and lift weights and that's it. That's not CrossFit. Okay? So there's a methodology that's associated with CrossFit, and the purpose of what we wanted to talk about is to really give you just insight into CrossFit and then segue that into programming of what is the philosophy of CrossFit programming, and then also the philosophy of CrossFit programming for CrossFit for Churro Hill as well as South Park. So then you have an understanding of how to be a smart athlete. So earlier today, for those who came to the 8:30 and 9:30 class at South Park when I coached that class, my focus on that class was how to be a smart athlete, right? And a smart athlete is whenever someone throws out or uses any type of terms, you want to be able to understand what are the foundational definitions of the terms first, so that you have a better understanding of how you actually use that particular model or whatever you're using. So I'm going to walk you through just various information as it relates to CrossFit. I may get kind of nerdy. Pull me back if I get too nerdy, but I want you to really ask questions so that you have a full understanding of what it is that we do. Fair point? Okay. So let's start off with here.
You were supposed to do that.
You didn't ask me to.
You were supposed to do this too.
Did I steal your seat?
Okay.
No.
Can anyone give me a definition of what is CrossFit? Constantly what?
Provide functional movements at high intensity.
Great. It's constantly varied. And right on the board.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly what didn't work.
Right, so it is constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity. But let's break this down. But it sounds like a great phrase, but if you don't know what the phrases mean, then it's useless. So let's start off with the term functional movement. Anyone know what functional movements? What does that mean? Anyone?
Like movement to do every day.
Right, so it's everyday movements. Okay? Now, if you want to even get more technical or granular, it is a movement that is multi-joint in terms of a movement. So this is the distinction between a bodybuilder and a functional movement. So if you're doing bodybuilding, I'll give you an example. Bicep curl, you're just moving one joint. It's the elbow. However, if I'm walking through Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and somebody drops something on the ground and they just bend over and pick it up, you may say, oh, they're just picking up something that they dropped on the ground. But for me, if I would look at people and I look at movement now, I watch, and if they have their feet hip width apart, they send their hips back and down, hips and shoulders rise at the same time, what does that look like? A what? A deadlift, right? That is a functional movement. So think of those type of things that show up every day, okay? The next thing is going to be constantly varied. So let me start off by explaining what it is not. So constantly varied is not random. So if you know individuals who come in and they just happen to make up shit, right? Technical term, make up a workout, and they do that every time, that is constantly varied to some degree, but it's also random. And let me explain why. So in CrossFit, we have 3 different modes the workouts fallen, movements fallen. And you will see it represented by M, which stands for.
But
Yep. Oh, there you go. Good. Thank you. Monostructural. Thank you. You got it. Thank you. Right. So the M would stand for monostructural, which means one movement. And that's traditionally cardiovascular. So when you think of cardiovascular, think of running, jumping, rowing, swimming, etc. Okay? When you think of weightlifting, think of weightlifting as moving any external weight to your body. Okay? So that could be a kettlebell, barbell, dumbbell, even an odd object, sandbags. And then when you think of gymnastics, you think of anything that's body weight. So for you, those of you who trained this morning, if you did the box jump, and you were also doing what else in the movement today? Push-ups, right? That is considered gymnastics. So we believe that when you put these combinations together, and there is part of a plan to it over a period of time, then you're able to get exposure to multiple areas of modality and you're building skill, which impacts your fitness. Sounds like a plan? Right, so the difference is that, again, we're just not making stuff up on the fly. It is done systematically for the purposes of seeing that we don't bias one movement or another. Okay? So then finally, we're going to talk about high intensity. So I'm going to say, when we talk about high intensity, I'm going to add another part to it. Relative high intensity. And come on in. All those of us say this. All right, so let's talk about.
you go again.
Okay, so I gotta make sure.
Don't want to
Okay.
respect.
Alrighty, so. Okay. Relative high intensity. Here's how we define high intensity. High intensity is represented by this P, which means power. So it's force times distance divided by time. And what does this mean? So I'm going to ask Craig to stand up. And I'm going to ask Carlos stand up. Okay, Carlos, how tall are you?
I think I really need that.
Meters. Right.
You want me to? Thank you.
So it's about 2 or 2. How many pounds do you weigh?
About 160.
Okay. And how tall are you?
5'5".
Right, so you can see the difference in height, and you can also see the difference in weight. So if you use this formula, have a seat, thank you. So if you take a look at this, let's say you ever work out a Fran, right? Anyone know what is Fran? 2159 thrusters and pull-ups, right? Thrusters at 95 pounds. Right, same way, but in theory, the force would represent the weight to be lifted. The distance would be the height or the distance traveled with that barbell. And the time is how fast they would move. So given what you just took a look at with Craig and Carlos, in theory, who do you think would move faster? Why? Exactly, shorter distance, right? So that's why we say relative intensity. Because each individual, you're competing against yourself, it's you versus you. Now, if you're doing the sport of CrossFit, that's a different conversation. But in relative intensity, you want to be focused on what's the force times distance divided by time. And when you focus on yourself, relative intensity, then you're able to see how fit you're getting over a period of time when in fact the workouts may repeat itself, because what is repeatable gives you data. So I want to stop there to see if you have any questions before we go over the details. Questions? Greg Lucas, yes.
You talked about the combination of structural weightlifting and gymnastics
Sure.
per workout or per week or per.
Thank you for saying that. All right, I'll get to that.
you repeat the question?
Yeah, his question was, basically, when we talk about the different types of movements or modalities within a workout, is it only a workout or is it over a period of time, basically? And I'm going to speak about that. And that will be a good segue into what Alexis will be capturing as well. What other questions do you have in this before we get deeper? Remember that question? I got it. Okay. Good? All right. So now we're going to go a little deeper. Right. So, all this, we do CrossFit. So you come in here, you high five each other. We go hard, right? You throw up on the ground. Right. So you get on the ground, right? You're sweating. You're dying, right? Sometimes we're taking photos of you, we're making fun of you. No, I'm joking. All right. The point is, right, you're pushing and you're seeing that you're getting better in certain movements. You're building skill. But what does this all mean? Well, it makes you fit. Does anyone have a definition of fitness? What does that mean? Okay, let's talk about fitness. All right, so CrossFit has a definition of fitness. And fitness is defined as increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So what does this actually mean? So we just spoke about modal domains being 3 different types: monostructural, weightlifting, and gymnastics. But let's talk about broad time. Our workouts can be long, intermediate, and short. So when I reference Fran, 21:15:9, thrusters and pull-ups, that workout, fastest in the world can complete that workout in 1 minute, and I think it's 1:59, no else. Right? In theory, we want you to be able to complete that workout probably within 7 minutes, give or take. If you're going all right, that's a goal to get up to. But the point of that is that's a short time frame. On the opposite end of the spectrum is another workout, which is a staple within CrossFit, called Murph. Anyone ever heard of Murph? And what is Murph? Anyone?
Mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, a mile run.
Say that
With
again.
a vest.
Yeah, say that again. Yeah.
A mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, a mile run with a vest.
Yep. And the vest is normally 28 pounds. And
14.
Yeah, 14. So that gives you an extreme on one end versus another. The whole point of that is it's a broad time domain. So the best way of trying to explain this is think of somebody who is a powerlifter. Powerlifters are going to be pretty much training in one domain, fast speed. But you ask that powerlifter to run a mile, and what are they going to say? I don't do
No, thank
cardio,
you.
bro. Right? That's what it is, right? I'm being honest, right? Now, you ask somebody who is a marathoner, right? And you ask them to say, hey, we're deadlifting, we're going 5x3, 315 deadlifts with a 3-minute break. What are they going to say?
I don't lift heavy.
I don't lift heavy, right? And that's the extreme. So those individuals are specialized, but would we say under CrossFit's definition as far as fit, would we say that they're fit? The answer would be no. They're specialized, but we're focused, this is general, right? To be able to perform across broad time and modal domains. That's what this means. So let's talk about how do we measure fitness. Okay, so this is one model, and we're going to start talking about this into different parts. Okay, so this is called the Fitness Wellness Sickness Continuum. And this is where we have individual biomarkers. Those of you who have worked with in nutrition, you know this also well, right? Probably getting PTSD, is that these are independent observational biomarkers. The fitter you are your biomarkers will likely be in a positive range. And these are objective. These aren't made by CrossFit. These are objective based upon standards with regards to fitness. If they're on the negative side, you're either going to be on the wellness towards sickness or decrepitude. We believe that if you're fit, then it creates a hedge against sickness. Now, again, earlier, I'm going to reference earlier for those of you who were at South Park, I had you do a move called the side plank. And some people were struggling in the side plank in the warm-up, correct? And what did I share? I said, part of that is part of balance. And it's one of the areas that we get to develop. And by the way, that balance is also one of the foundational sides, which I'm about to discuss, which comes back to another way of defining fitness. But before we move there, I want to talk about this and see if we have any questions about these biomarkers. Anyone? Going once? Yes?
Can you just quickly run through what they each
Yeah.
stand for?
Yeah, BMI, which is basically body mass index. A1C is basically your glucose, right? You can track that either by using a continual glucose monitor, or when you have a normal blood test, it'll show where you are. The CGM will actually give you more minute by minute, but it gives you a trend as to what you respond to. But over a period of time, that A1C or glucose will tell you over a period of time what the average glucose response is to insulin when spiked in your body based upon the response to food. Also, by the way, the spike for insulin is, you can see this as a result of intense training, but then it also drops as well. So it's not only the spike, but how long it stays at the spike. The other one is total cholesterol. So the total cholesterol is one of the things that you'll see in a blood test. And normally the total cholesterol will actually give you a sense as to whether or not your physician believes that it's too high past a certain marker and whether or not you need to have a pharmacological intervention, normally a statin, but the alternative is normally working out. LDL, which is a which is a protein, it's a lipoprotein as it relates to, and it's in relation to the HDL as well. So it's also a blood marker to see where these are relative to one another in balance. And then finally, body fat measurements. It's not only the body fat measurements that you have relative to your age and other points, but it also is a breakdown of the visceral fat versus subcutaneous fat. And the focus on a body fat measurement, especially through a DEXA scan, is that you really focus on the visceral fat because that is what is around your organs. Okay? And the way that you burn that, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Okay? So, questions? I mean, you could use Ozempic and Wegovy, but then it has an alternative effect which it tears apart your muscle mass as well. Okay? So, there's a difference between pharmacological uses, which can address that particular, pharmacological interventions can address those particular issues, but it only addresses one and it doesn't address the whole thing. Question before we get to the next model of fitness. This is just one way of measuring fitness. Okay, the next way of measuring fitness, I like writing this out, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. All right, so these are called the 10, right, GPPs. Thank you. Right, so you have cardiovascular endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. The next two, power and speed, are coefficients of the final four: coordination, agility, accuracy, and balance. So when I spoke about balance the other day, your ability to hold in basically a plank or a side plank, these last four are developed neurologically. And this is the distinction between individuals who are getting older and their ability to thrive versus those who don't. Now why do I say this? Is because I like to say this as an example. I can do gymnastics. I'm 57. The average 57-year-old person who I work with, I know your eyes just got big. Average 57, average 45, average 35, average 25-year-old is not fitter than me.
Let's go.
Fact, right. I'm saying that. So when I talk to people that I work with at Stanford, they tell me, I said, how was your weekend? They're like, oh, I did gardening. I can't relate, right? I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, right? I'm like, what about you? I was doing thrusters on a Sunday. I'm sorry, I can't relate, right? My whole point is this balance, coordination, agility, accuracy, and balance, that is going to sustain you. Your speed and power are coefficients of this. Cardiovascular, respiratory endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility is developed organically through training. So, if you don't come to the gym and you don't train, you're not going to develop this. And if you're skipping gymnastics day, you're not going to develop this. So when you cherry pick workouts, I don't know what to tell you. Right? I'm going to be like, bro. Everyone gets called bro, regardless of your gender preferences. Right? Bro. Right. So the point is, if you follow the workout, follow the programming, you will get fit across the board. Okay? Generally. Now, in this model, and I'm going to speak about some other areas shortly, CrossFit is designed to be scalable. Okay? So scalable really means we can scale the weight, and if you're injured, we can scale the movement. Now, some of you will know that our coaches, Rachel and Alexis and me, will tell you, I'll look at your weight, and what will I say to you, Rachel? Why? Can you say that a little louder?
Go heavier.
And own it. I might say, right? Carlos, what happened today when you picked up 35? What did they say? I said, go heavier. Why? Not necessarily to push him past push him past his comfort zone, but at some point we hit a plateau. And in order to seek improved fitness, we have to, how do we change that? We go back to this formula, right? The movement may be the same, but then we may change one of the variables in the movements to start increasing the challenge and increasing our fitness. In their case, I was like, hey, put back level 1 weight. I want you to try level 1.5 or level 2.5 to see what your time is. But this is all one big experiment, and it gives you data points. So again, we want you to come to the gym, but also keep in mind, if you're always staying at the same weight, it's going to be hard to actually see the increased results. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's up to you. Now, for coaches, I do want to point out, we talk about it amongst ourselves. We don't want to negotiate weights with you in the class. Like, it's like, well, can I do half of this? And go? No, workout's the workout. The standard is the standard, right? You have permission, obviously, to scale appropriately. And there's going to be sometimes you're going to scale because you're like, dude, I'm not feeling it today. Got it, right? But don't make that always a habit or an excuse not to push a little harder to really express your fitness. Question before I move on to the other way of fitness. Yes, please.
I don't know if we should, if we have to decide
Great question. It depends with you and that counselor, but it also depends on the efficiency of the movement. So, for example, what you're asking, did you hear her question, everyone? So, her question is in essence, I'm going to take a little sidebar here. Her question really gets to another foundation. It's not the topic of this discussion, but I just want to touch on this. It's called threshold training. And threshold training basically is, it's that balance of when do you want to focus on the speed and efficiency of the movement and the efficiency of your, and skill of your movement as well. So you can go super fast and move with bad movement and bad technique, which will compromise you down the line and put you at risk for injury. At the same time, we want you to focus on I'm going to add another piece here. This is the CrossFit charter. And all coaches really abide by this charter, where we focus on mechanics first, consistency second, and then intensity. So in other words, you have to earn the right to go intense. In other words, the day if you've never done a snatch at 135 and you're going to complete a workout which has 75 snatches in it, today is not the day that you're going to try 135 when your 1 rep max is maybe 65, right? So just hopefully that answers your question. So we'll always focus on the mechanics and then the consistency is how well you're moving throughout that workout before you even think about going up into or going faster, if that makes sense. Okay. But always check with your coach as well because they'll be able to give you a guide. Good job. Okay, so let's talk about the other way that we measure fitness, if I can. Anyone want to take a photo of this? Or I can just erase this. You good? You good?
Don't erase the
Anything?
continuum.
All right, cool. I'll leave that. All right.
You can erase that.
Can I erase this part? Okay, so I'm going to go a little deeper. So we're going to talk about something called metabolic pathways. This is an energy system that we also use to measure fitness. Okay, so there's 3 different energy systems that run concurrently in our bodies. One is called the phosphagen. Think of this as a max sprint. This energy has no more than 20 seconds of energy. After this burns out, then this kicks in called the glycolytic pathway. This kicks in from 20 seconds to 240 seconds. After this kicks out, then the aerobic capacity kicks in, and this is 240 to infinity. Okay? So remember when we were speaking about the workouts and how do you find how fit you are? And I spoke about fitness is measured in terms of increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So let's talk about the broad times. If you are fit, you should be able to perform in all 3 modal or time domains rather. Okay? So that means if your workout is a sprint, you should be able to do that. You should be able to do an aerobic workout, also known as cardio at zone 2, right? And if you're working in glycolytic, right? This is where most of our CrossFit Metcons are, right? Now, here's the thing. Research shows that if you train predominantly in a glycolytic energy system, it allows you flexibility to be able to perform in all 3. Most people don't train, or most training philosophies only train in one or the other. Sprinters, weightlifting, long distance runners, rowers. Yes.
So the number is time?
I'm sorry?
The number 20 seconds.
Yeah, seconds. Yeah. This would be like a zone 3. Right. Do you want to think of it almost like a zone 4, zone 3, zone 2? Right. So, I want you just to think about this because if you find in certain workouts, some of you may say, well, I tend to do really well in long workouts, but then when you say sprints, you're like, shit, I can't do it. Help me, help me, help me, right? That means that's an opportunity. It's data, it's feedback to give you an opportunity to say, what do you need to work on in terms of to be a well-fit person, right? At the same time, if you're a great sprinter, but you suck, like if Alexis programs, hey, guess what today is? We have a hopper wide. And everyone's like, yay! She said, we're doing a mile run time trial. Everyone's gonna be like, ah, or you don't come to work, you don't come to class, right? So I'm just saying. And then you're gonna say, can I substitute the run? Right? So just keep that in mind, because we hear all of these things. We keep a note with a name, right? So just saying, like, just keep this in mind, because again, your exposure to different modalities and time domains will determine how fit you are, and it actually impacts your fitness and wellness across the board. Okay? And then I'm going to write one last thing on the board. We do this here. I don't know any other gym, Rich or Alexis, that actually does this. The hopper model. We actually do it, right? The hopper model is, this is something that is random, that we pull a workout out of the hopper. And the theory behind it is the one movement that you don't want to ever show up in a workout because you think you suck at it, or you may hate it, it's always going to come out of that hopper. So whatever that movement is, I'm just saying, right? Whatever that movement is, like you're like, I don't want it to come out. If that movement that you're afraid that we're going to pull out, that's the one that you probably need to work on, right? So I often will say, or ask a question, or any of us will ask a question, what's the one workout you don't want to ever see? One movement. I'm going to ask you all, one movement that you don't want to ever see in a workout. Carlos.
Let's take like running.
Running?
Let's take gymnastics, because I was such a bad runner, but in the last month it has improved a lot. Okay. Because I was showing up in the right.
I didn't come into class, right? So, gymnastics. Rest of it. Okay. Okay.
Burpees and running.
Burpees and running.
So many running.
Running.
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
Chest to bar.
Chest to bar pull-ups.
Is it double unders? Just because I can't do that.
Don't forget we have showing up the double under PSA, right? I'm teaching it, right?
Oh, is there another one?
Yeah, dude. Like sign up as of the first.
I haven't
Right.
written it up there yet.
Yeah,
It's not
coming.
up there yet, but it's coming. It's
Yeah,
in there.
right. Good.
Overhead squats.
Overhead squat. Good. Pull-ups. Okay.
Crossovers.
Crossover. You know what to do. Right. Right.
Snatch.
Snatch.
Anything overhead like handstand wall walks.
Okay.
Overhead squat.
Overhead squat.
Bring it up.
Okay. So, as you're seeing these things, think about this. Actually could be it's data, it's feedback. So if you're like, hey, I don't like to do these things, but if you're not taking advantage of some of the things on what to do to fix that, or if you're avoiding coming to class when you see that programmed, it's not going to fix itself, right? So you got to start somewhere, okay? So we just went through what is CrossFit. We went through what is random, what's not random. We went through what is the definition of fitness and the various modalities of fitness. I'm just going to talk about really quickly before I turn it over to Alexis into what is the CrossFit methodology as it relates to programming, and then we're going to hand it off to Alexis. Sounds like a plan? Any questions before you move on? Okay. Cool. So, actually, I got this question this morning in class. Somebody asked me that he wanted to train for an event, not CrossFit related, but he wanted to do CrossFit to achieve that event. It was an interesting question. It's something that we hear as coaches all the time. Can you use CrossFit to train for something else? The answer is yes. So, standard CrossFit, this is a hypothetical. So that's what that question is. And this is just hypothetical. There's two ways that CrossFit gives a thought process in terms of programming. So CrossFit programs in general, 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. So let's say Monday through Wednesday, you may see a workout that has a monostructural movement. On a Tuesday, you may see something that's weightlifting and gymnastics. This is known as a couplet. And then you may see something which is a combination. Gymnastics, weightlifting, and monostructural. If you're on a three on, 1 day off model, then this would be your rest day. And then you would train on Saturday and Sunday, which would likely be whatever it could be, let's say. And again, this is just a hypothetical as an example. The reason that it's written this way is so that you don't overtrain. Because you want to maintain the intensity, but at the same time rest. And Sophia, what did we talk about rest? Rest is not a long 25-pound by 20-mile hike, right? It's like rest, right? So if you're like, I'm gonna rest, what did you do? I went on a 40-mile hike today, or went on a bike ride. Like I did a 100-mile bike ride. Wow, right? So still you, but think about it based upon what your goals are. Another way is sometimes people they'd rather train Monday through Friday and then rest on the weekends. And that's the case, you do 5 days and then rest on the weekends. It's your choice. Now, why do we say this? It's because you don't want to engage in a lot of overtraining, because when you engage in overtraining, it also puts you at risk for injury. You feel me? Right? Am I staring at you? All right, got it. Does it land? All right, good. Thank you.
I
Right,
have
so,
a question
yes.
related to this.
Yeah.
How do you define active recovery during rest days?
Okay. I would so an active recovery would really be mobility. It could also be focusing more on range of motion. It could be like you're still moving. Sometimes it could be also doing something in a zone 2, as opposed to trying to do something full-blown, etc. Sometimes an active recovery could be just get on a bike. Just come in and get on a bike. Or sometimes just go for a walk, right? So some of you have dogs, take your dog for a walk, right? It's something as simple as that. Yeah. Or yes, yoga, right, etc. So, yeah, something to that effect. But if you have any questions about that, always just ask some of the coaches, they have some ideas as well. So, yeah. All right, questions. I spoke about fitness, I spoke about the definition of CrossFit, I spoke about the different models, and I also spoke about programming according to CrossFit. Yes?
So is that regimen like what you guys stick to when you program here?
No. And the reason being is because we have to program for 7 days a week. So Alexis is going to talk about that. But I just want to give you a context so you have flexibility within the programming that she does, if that makes sense. Because you may have separate goals. Our goal is to run a gym and to give you a fitness program, right? But you may say, hey, I'm going to be traveling for a couple of days, etc. What do I do? And that's a question that often comes up as well. I don't know about you, but when I first started CrossFit many years ago, I used to drop in a lot of boxes. And I quickly learned that while it was great accumulating as many t-shirts as possible and I got swag, I would literally go from one box and it was a workout, and go to another box, and what would happen? It's the same workout, right? Or it's the same movement. I'm like, right, so I got to do thrusters again. And then I go to another country or another city, and then what? 3 days of thrusters, right? I'm like wrecked, right? So I say this because I didn't know that at the time when I first started CrossFit, and I was like really reckless. So a lot of the things that I learned, and a lot of the injuries that I got, was because I wasn't paying attention and I didn't know enough, and I didn't ask enough questions. So that's why I tend to overbomb you guys with information so you don't make the same mistakes I did. Okay. Anyone else?
Is double under single under?
I That's a great question. It depends on how long you're doing it. It actually could be. So the question was, are double unders or single unders cardio or gymnastics? Anyone? Actually, I want to find the answer. I actually teach it like it's a gymnastics movement. What about, how do you?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
Yeah,
monostructural.
yeah, it's definitely
monostructural, yeah.
monostructural, but yeah.
I think of it as gymnastics often because of the same positions and movements.
But it's a long, repetitive movement that
Yeah,
doesn't change.
yeah.
But also, there's some movements that can cross over.
Yeah.
It's allowed.
Yep.
Like I just found out sled push can be considered monostructural. You strap a sled and just walk out for a mile. But then it's also weightlifting. Like you put as much as you can on and you push it a little bit. So it could be both. Do you guys have any more questions for Chris?
Go once. Go twice. All right. Turn it over to Alexis.
And a big reason why we want to have this is like you, and as coaches, can do this too, but you always need to assess, am I getting results every 3 to 6 months? Because things take time. Look back, have things change for me? Know why. Am I doing this? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? Okay, so like this pyramid here is how sport would be like your specific training. Maybe it's your weightlifting for sport, maybe it's your marathon race, maybe it's your soccer games, whatever, that's at the top. But if you're not eating right, nothing is gonna go well. No progress is gonna happen if you're just a dumpster fire every time you eat. Or you don't eat. That definitely won't happen. Your sport will not progress if your conditioning is not right. If you are not doing your 3 different metabolic, phosphogenic, glycogenic, and aerobic. Gymnastics, this is not necessarily high level. This is, can you move your body in space well? Air squats, push-ups, lunges, pull-ups. Once we can move our body in space, we have good mechanics. Now can we move our body well with weight? Can we throw weight around? Then the sport is specific. Okay, how's our, whatever your sport is. Okay, and then just for a graph, increase work capacity across broad time and multiple. So here's our graph here. Here's time. It's going up. Here's power output or intensity. Okay, so the shorter the time, the higher power output. This is true for everybody. The longer the time, the lower power output. This curve is true for everyone. We want to shift this curve up so we can hold a higher power output for a longer period of time. That's what we're trying to do. All right, so in programming, let me move to here. Okay, cool. The goal for our general CrossFit programming, hold on, use your little stuff. We're doing general physical preparedness, GPP. We're trying to touch all of these. General physical preparedness. That is the goal. And every time anybody has a question of why don't we do more of this? Why don't we do more of that? Why don't general? We want to be generally great at everything. Versus specific. Specific would be your only class on Sunday. Would be competitor programming. Would be personal training, working on specific goals. That is not the goal of our group CrossFit classes. So I'm going to talk about specifically our group CrossFit classes and the goal of programming there. The next goal is 7 days a week. I have to program 7 days a week. That doesn't mean you're coming 7 days a week, but I have to make sure it's 7 days a week. The next goal is strength and conditioning. This is a strength and conditioning program. We're doing strength, and we're getting our metabolic conditioning. So we're making sure we're hitting all those up. And skill development. Learning new skills Coordination, agility, accuracy, and balance. That's your neurological side of your training. Learning new skills, which is one of the things that are very unique to CrossFit out of all other group training classes, is CrossFit focuses on skill development, not just strength and conditioning. Guess what else is a goal of our programming? No injuries. No injuries. And we could purchase programming that's just general and we can do it here. But what's cool about doing it in-house is that I can get immediate feedback. Be like, whoa, that workout fucked up everybody's elbows. Tomorrow is supposed to be another elbow intense movement. Let's change it. Like that. That is cool. That's really great. And we can get that feedback because we don't want you to be injured. We don't want it. We want you to keep coming. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do it by constantly varied movements, functional movements, execute at high intensity. We're changing modality, weightlifting, non-structural, or gymnastics. We're changing the different volume. We're changing the scheme. Is it one movement just today? Is it 2 movements, a couplet? Is it 3 movements? Is it a chipper, which is 4 movements or up? We're changing the time. We're changing the weight, low weight, medium weight, high weight. That's a lot. That's a lot to juggle. So 7 days a week, we're juggling a lot. So that scheme that Chris was saying, monostructural and then maybe gymnastics, weightlifting, then all 3. That's a guideline that we use to best of our ability, but also we have holidays, themed workouts, parties, there's that.
Hopper.
Mess it up, but we're juggling all these things, making sure that you are getting all of that. We are also developing skill. Any questions so far? Who is this for? This is for everybody. We want to also make it completely scalable, so we have some considerations when we program a workout. Number 1 consideration, class size and equipment. Okay, so we have to think of those things. We have to think about, is this workout scalable for every single level? And are the coaches capable of scaling it that way? Is it not that detailed? So it has to be simple enough for that to make sense. And why would we work at such a high intensity? Other than it drives results, it gets you out of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone is how you start making changes to your body. But when we say functional movements, would you guys say a snatch is a functional movement? Do we snatch in daily life?
When you go to put like your suitcase.
Yeah, I would say it's more like a press or jerk. You're like, fucking is. Pow! Watch my suitcase go up. That's right. A snatch is totally not functional. Guess what? But if someone can snatch and land in an overhead squat, there's a pretty good chance they can also squat deep, they can deadlift, they have a healthy shoulder, they have a healthy hip, they have a strong core. So it's what we call surplus. A surplus of fitness, which gets us into this side of the continuum, which we like. If you guys come here at noon, I've been training Steve Holm for like 13 years. And he's 65 now. And when I met him, he was weightlifting for only 5 years and is squat. I was a baby CrossFit coach. And I've learned, he's like my dissertation. So I talk about that all the time. But every time, as you get older, you need to change your programming because your tissue breaks down. You just have, and I'll talk about that a little bit more and what changing your programming looks like. But, you might get a little injury here and there. So let's say he loves to ski. He got hit by a snowbird. Those fucking snowbirds, as he loves to hate snowbirds, of course. Messes up his groin, but he still comes and trains. We can't do lower body forever. But if he was just right here at that time and he could not do lower body for 3 months, now we're losing a lot of muscle mass and we're in the sick range. But luckily, he was pretty fucking fit. And we were able to hobble around on one foot easily. We had good balance. We were able to still keep moving. He didn't lose any autonomy in his life. So he just dropped down a little bit, but he's still fitter than before. So that surplus is really, really great. And why we all need our parents to start weightlifting. Jesus. Your mom, Chris's mom's like a legend at her box. Yeah, she's doing it. How old is she now?
86.
86.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So that's why we would do that. Okay, so what is it? One workout a day. CrossFit program is one workout a day. 3 years ago, we changed to actual CrossFit programming after lots of debate. Before, and what a lot of people want to do, and this is like, I think, why don't we do this? Why don't we do a strength and then a Metcon? Why don't we do a 5x5 back squat and then a 10-minute workout in the hour, which is called an A and B model. Because people think, I'm not getting fit enough, I'm not getting fast enough, I can be doing more. So why wouldn't we do that? Well, let's say you do a 5x5 back squat, this is the program. You have 10 minutes to do a 5x5 back squat at 75%. Most people who are actually getting to 75% take 10 minutes just to get to 75%, and then they need 20 minutes to do a 5x5 back squat. So that means you are not achieving true intensity at a 5x5 back squat if you're doing it in 10 minutes. You're not. You're not getting true rest. You're not doing true strength training. You're kind of more just doing that like moderate weight.
So potential injuries.
It's potential injuries, but you're also, before the injury part, you're not even hitting intensity.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not going to even like get your strength numbers out.
When you try to hit the intensity, it's a potential injury.
Right.
I want to do that, and then
Right. So it's like, okay, now you have 2 minutes to get to 75%. You could potentially injure yourself for sure. And then we're going to do Fran after that.
Yes, I love that combo.
All right, and we want you to get sub 3. So you're gonna do a 5x5 back squat, and then you're gonna get sub 3 Fran. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're gonna do a mediocre Fran. You're gonna finish the 7 minutes, and you didn't really hit true intensity, and you have a higher risk of injury. And how much actual coaching did you get from your coach? Not much, because they're running around with the chicken, their head caught off, trying to get everybody, do this, are you here? Okay, so one workout a day helps with skill development, because we can take time to work on things, but it's also for you to achieve true intensity. Now, if you're doing this and you're doing the recommended 5 days a week, that's a lot, just a lot of volume. So yesterday's workout was like a couple, it was 2 things. Straight leg raises and a shuttle run. It was only 10 minutes, but we had like 20 minutes of stretching. If you only come twice a week and you happen to land on that, you'd be like, not enough. And I'm like, I agree. That'd probably be a good time to stay a little longer and do some weightlifting. But if you came all of those days, we had a drop-in that came 6 days in a row. I was like, what? He's like, I'm 53, this is how I do it. And I'm like, all right, shit, like, you're okay? Well, I guess the programming is pretty damn good then. Because if you were doing other stuff on top of that, you'd be like really achy. So when is the recovery happening? Okay? Simple does not equal easy. It does not. Simple gives you more opportunity for intensity. So when the movements are more complex, like if you came and you had to do snatches and you're like brand new, and I mean it's been a year of snatching, you're still brand new. Your intensity is not going to be very high because it's a complex movement, but your skill development will be very high. You've done a lot of neurological training that day. Today's workout, more simple. Who did today's workout? Was that easy?
No.
Hell no.
I thought it was gonna be easy.
More
Those
opportunity
are the ones
for
that kick your butt. The ones that you think are going to be easy.
more opportunity for intensity. So sometimes people like, oh, it's so boring. I need to do more complex stuff. I want ring rows. I want snatches. I want thrusters. I want that. but your intensity probably won't be very high because the skill of those movements is so high that you're gonna have to move a little slower. I personally, my least favorite workout, I didn't get to answer that, is Cindy, which is a 20-minute AMRAP, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats. I hate that workout because it's so damn simple that if you really want to achieve intensity, you gotta like work really hard. I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to do 18 rounds of that. That just sounds terrible. But gets the job done. You guys, from now on, who likes to listen to podcasts? All right. I hate CrossFit podcasts. I can't stand it. Probably because I just like it's my job. I don't want to listen to any more talk about CrossFit. But sometimes people ramble. But I really like this one called Mary Not Random. I recommend you guys all listen to it. Write down, follow it. Adrian Bosman and Pat Shearwood, they get a topic, someone asks a question about CrossFit. They stay on the topic. It's 20 to 30 minutes long. It's beautiful. And I agree with 99% of the things they say, so you should definitely listen. It'd be like, are grips good for pull-ups? And they'll have like the whole side, both things, and really simple, very CrossFit stuff. So I was listening to this, and they were interviewing a Britain's natural strongman 2 times. He's like one strongman 1,000,000 times. And they're like, okay, how did you get your 1,000 pull-up, or 1,000-pound deadlift? And he just went on a long rant. I don't even think he breathed about how all these people come in and they just want to do the shiny, fancy stuff. They're not getting results. They're like, well, we got to try this new thing. We got to try this new thing. And it's just like Instagram. It's like, wait a second. But how much deadlifting have you actually done? Like, how much squatting have you actually done? It doesn't have to be fancy or more. And so he said, and I was like, he says, sometimes you don't need to add more things. Sometimes you need to add more intensity to the things you're already doing. So, ask yourself, before you add more on, how many times a week am I going consistently? How much am I resting? How's my nutrition? How's my intensity in the WOD? Okay, check. Great, now we can add on more things, but make sure those things are happening. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, Ryan.
You said the recommended is 5 times a week?
Yeah. Well,
But you could do that however you want. It doesn't have to be 5 days in a row. So like if you do the 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, that's 5. So we can do 5 straight, we can do that. Like if there's it's just 5.
so,
2 on 2.
and that might not look like 5 CrossFit days, but exercise. How about that? Move your body 5 days a week. So it could be 3 days of CrossFit, 1 5-mile intense hike, and 1 super intense vinyasa yoga class. Awesome. 2 days of actual rest. Could look like that. All right, so the gym's responsibilities when you come into class and the coach's responsibilities. It's really important. And what's one responsibility you hope the coach does for you when you come in? Checks your form, yes. Which we also would like to say, we hold movement standards. Because CrossFit is measurable and observable and repeatable, every movement has a standard. Your push-up has a bottom and a top for a reason, because if you're going to repeat the workout, did you actually do true push-ups the previous time, or are you doing half push-ups here and there? So we're going to have a movement standard and uphold that movement standard. Anything else?
Explain, demonstrate, clarify the workouts.
Yes. Explain, demonstrate, clarify the workouts, warm you up, take you through a clean workout, and cool you down. Yes. Anything else? Yeah. Push you. So help you either increase intensity, scale movements to increase intensity, or maybe add the weight on. No, Rachel constantly looks like she needs more weight. Alper learned, but used to be like, let's take the weight off, but he's got it down now. He knows that he's doing. But yeah, they're your guide, your Sherpa, if you will, to help you through that. And then correct you as you're going or provide interventions. Hey, you got like this weird shoulder thing. Are you trying this extra little movement to help with your strength? How about your nutrition? We got people that help you with that. So those are our responsibilities as a coach. What is your responsibility as an athlete? Anybody? Let's get a list going.
Are we just shouting them out?
Rachel, you don't get to answer.
I'm still an athlete.
I know. We'll wait till the end. Eric.
Work hard.
To work hard. Good. Okay. Work. What else?
Show up on time.
Wow.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well,
Show up on time.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you. I love it, Tyra.
being on time is really great because we like say a lot of good stuff in the beginning. We'll help you for your workout. Eric, you got another one?
Listen.
Listen. Yes.
Ding, ding.
You guys are such students. Anybody else? Be coachable. Receive the information. Good.
Everything back.
Be safe. Okay. And put your shit away. Okay, you guys are, I love this. I mean, like, kind of lead you where I was kind of thinking. Goal setting is your responsibility. Why the fuck are you coming here? Why are you pushing so hard? What is your why? You need to know that. Are you here maybe just because your friends are? That's not a good enough reason to be working this hard. There's got to be something else. What's that fire in your belly for doing this? Another thing is, it's your job to be consistent. You, like, let's see, 3 weeks of 5 days in a row and then 3 months off is not consistent. 2 times a month is not consistent. Nothing will happen. You will get injured. So it's your job to be consistent. It's your job to rest at least 2 times a week. 2 days a week is your job to rest. I'm programming 7 days a week. That doesn't mean you're coming 7 days a week. It's your job to rest. It's your job, and it's a little bit different what Chris is saying, but like, to cherry pick the workout. If your legs are still toast from 4 days earlier and it's a leg day, you know damn well if you're doing that you shouldn't be doing it, go over there and do something else if you need to move your body. But like, that is also okay. You have to manage yourself. You're in charge. It's your job to eat right. It's your job to sleep. So that's like your recovery. But don't cherry pick the stuff you're not good at. That's cherry picking. That's cherry picking. For me, anything longer than 20 minutes, I don't want to do it. That's me cherry picking right there. 12-minute workout? Let's go. 20? I'm out. It's your job to communicate with the coach. We can't read your mind. All right? And if you don't want to be like hounded the entire time, fine. Be like, I'm scaling because of this. Oh, that's good to know. Wish you led with that. It's fine. Do you guys have any questions about this? Yeah.
Kind of a tangent. Do you guys offer any sort of nutrition guidelines or nutrition classes?
Do you
read
have
the newsletter?
coaching?
I do.
I was just saying.
It's
Because
often
there's
at
a
like
whole,
6
we
a.m.
have
after I wake up.
nutritional coaching, and it's been in the newsletter every month for the last
That's
5 months.
really embarrassing. But
Yeah, it's not embarrassing. I'm just saying. Yeah.
So, but the guideline, Chris, eat nuts,
vegetables,
meat.
lots of seeds, little starch, no sugar. Keep workouts, right? Constantly vary to make sure that you're increasing intensity.
Make sure your food supports your workouts. So it's not like don't eat enough. Eat meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch. That's the guideline right there. But if you need more intense depth, Chris in the run, you can hire them. It's 3 months minimum. You get a body scan, and they help you map it out. And I mean, we'll talk to Chris more about it, but Anybody here work with Chris, nutritionally wise?
Lexi and Sophia.
Sweet. Okay, cool. 3 of them. Look at that. Love it.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Make me happy.
You guys, any other questions about programming?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you try to talk? There's no pattern to like it's like I shouldn't think about okay, there's going to be a gymnastics day on Tuesday. I don't like gymnastics, so I should try and plan something like that.
Oh,
That's part of the variable.
great question. It's like he's asking, is there any like scheduled pattern in the week? Mondays are squats, Tuesdays are gymnastics, or whatever. The answer is no. It's constantly rotating. Mostly because, you know, your schedule might be rotating, or maybe it's not. Maybe you always come Mondays and you never come Tuesdays, and if like we're always the same, then you always miss that. That would kind of suck. So my recommendation for you is come when you can, rest when you're supposed to, don't pay attention to what the program is. That'd be the easiest. Like for the folks who don't look at the WOD beforehand, good. That's probably the best. It makes sense if you like need to know what shoe to bring, you know, or you like to get excited about it. But you know, try not to.
Yeah, every night after 8 p.m. we always check. 8:01 we are there.
I know. Sorry, and sometimes it's not coming on until like midnight, and that means I had a bad put down with the kids.
I came from a gym where you did not know what you were doing until you walked in and you looked at the whiteboard, and then that evening they put out what you did that day. And then when I came here, not here, but my other gym in San Francisco, and when they would put it up, I was just like, this is so stupid, because you can literally just go, oh, I don't want to do that, or I'm not, you know what I mean? So like it was a total mind change for me. But if you check it, I encourage you, try 2 weeks of not checking it. Just try 2 weeks, and you might be super shocked. Like you walk in, because I remember there being days I'd walk in and go, I'm not doing, there's no way I can do that. And then I would do it, and I'd be like, oh my God, I fucking did it. And I would be so proud of myself, versus being like, shit. And then you're thinking about it all night and the next day, especially if you don't work out to 5, going, God, I have to do thrusters, that's my least favorite movement. And then you have all that time to talk yourself out of it. Whereas if you just walk in and you're like, well, I'm committed. Like I just encourage everyone to do it. It's just a different way of trying to CrossFit.
And you miss it on the coaching, and then there's also scaling.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
I don't check at all.
Yeah.
I just come, and then I ask the group before, how was it, right?
Yeah.
just to get all the
Yeah.
different answers, right?
No,
No one has the same.
totally.
No one has
Yeah.
the same answer.
Is it realistic if you're trying to learn a new skill like M1ers or crossovers or muscle ups, something that takes a lot of time, over time to figure that out through the classes, or do you really need to come on your own or through special training, or does that over time come?
Yeah. So Craig's question is, when I want to learn practice a higher skill movement, should I do it some more on my own, or just is coming to class enough? That is a really great question, and it's probably, I think adding it a little bit before or after is always helpful. Like you gotta hit it, maybe we're gonna hit muscle ups once in the week. You're probably gonna need to hit it 2 more times on your own, and I'm not talking a whole hour. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes of a little bit of work. Yeah, practice. Handstands every fucking day. That's an everyday situation. 5 minutes every day. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So the CrossFit Games is the end of the year. CrossFit Games is like the elite of the whole world. But the first start to the CrossFit Games is the CrossFit Open. So the first, what's it called? Qualifier for the CrossFit Games. And the Open is something they've been doing since 2011. It's an online competition. It's one of the biggest in the world. 300,000 people compete in this thing. Register and compete. More are actually doing it for fun. And it's February 27th this year. There'll be one workout a week over the 3 weeks. And we'll be doing it here every Friday night. We call it Friday Night Lights. Actually, the whole WOD, all the classes will be doing the WOD of Friday. But we want to have everybody come in the evening because it's rad. And we're judging each other, we have standards, and we're making sure they got their score and everything. So that is the Open. If you register for the Open, you can see how you stack up against the whole world, which is cool. But also, CrossFit is doing a new thing called the Community Cup. Sorry, very distracted. The Community Cup is going to be, what, is it June?
Which one?
The Community Cup?
Yep, June.
So the Community Cup is in June. Wherever you stack up percentage-wise in the open, you're going to be given a level. So like, let's say you end in the 50th percentile of your age group, you will be in the 5th level, and you'll compete at level 5, whatever that's going to mean, and they're going to have like 3 workouts to do in the week. And we're also going to participate in that. So that's extra motivation to register for the open, which is, it's $20 to register. So this year, we're gonna try teams because we want to get more people involved. Not just the usual 30 to 50. We want more. And we want you to get to know each other because a lot of the times what we hear, oh, you know what I love about CrossFit? I love the community. But let's do community stuff then. So let's do it. So what we're gonna do is have a draft. We're gonna pick I think we're gonna have like 5 teams, and we're gonna get 2 team captains for a team, and they're gonna just pull names out of a hat and select their teams that way. Hopefully have like, so the open is, there's RX division, there's scaled, and there's foundationals. And you don't have to decide what you're gonna do each workout in. Like you could do one workout RX, you could do the next workout scaled, decide that day of, which is really cool. Just know that if you go scaled, you'll always be placed lower than RX. Even if you do 1 rep RX, you will place higher. That's more details. So each team can get points. We're gonna do points by, the number of team members that are actually competing in the open, because you're gonna email and be like, you're on this team. You know, so if we can rally up, we get a WhatsApp group with your team, who actually competes, who does a judges course, which is $10, and will be very informational, educational for you. Who has the most social media, like stuff, who gets together, who's got shirts, got team names, basically just team spirit. We'll be dishing out points like that. And then, there'll be prizes. So that's what's happening. We hope to be doing this by next week, getting teams selected. And then just be checking your inbox to find out what team you're on. Do you guys have any questions about it?
Is the assumption that you're going to be here for everything during the period between 27th and 17th?
If you're not in town, the assumption is you will go to a CrossFit gym and do the open at another CrossFit gym. Yeah, or CrossFit affiliate. Because all the CrossFit affiliates will be hosting it, which is cool. Which is really fun, actually, to do. I've done the open in like Berlin and Minneapolis one time, which is really fun to be like in another place. But it's just a lot of fun energy, and it's a big time of the year for us. Any other questions?
So you want to sign up next week to sign up to get on the list by next week or something?
You're signed as a paying member.
Oh,
you're in.
You're already in the pool.
You're in the pool. And then we'll be like selecting teams, and we'll be like, Craig, you're in this team.
I see, I got you. You don't have to sign up for the open to get into it.
You don't, but registering for the actual open, which is on the CrossFit Games site, will give your team points. Yeah, and then it will help you sign up. If you register for the open, then you can do the Community Cup in the future in June. Yeah.
He also just asked if you have a person on the team who's ready to another team for I'm joking.
What's the question, Chris?
I'm just thinking, if you can trade people.
If you could trade people.
So what do you do?
At this, no. Right now you've done the most by coming to this.
Post the workouts in advance.
They do. Well, the week of. Okay, so they say it they announce it on a Thursday. They have a big thing where it's like televised, and then like the elite athletes do it, and then after that they'll release like the score sheet. You have Thursday. You have until Monday to submit your score. and we do it Friday. So if you can't make that Friday, you'll like probably come in on Saturday or Sunday or something and do it here with your buddies.
You can also do it as many times as you want. So if, let's say you try it on Friday and you're like, I didn't do very good, you can try it again on Sunday if you want, or whatever, and then post your best score.
We only have second chance Sundays, but I don't recommend it.
Second chance Sundays. Just give it your all the first time. You probably were fine. The only time it makes sense is if you like really screwed up your double unders. You know, sometimes you just had a bad day on the dubs. Any other questions? Yeah.
So like if the workout includes double unders, can you scale it to single unders if you don't have double unders? You kind of have to have double unders.
Well, you could do the scaled option, which is usually going to be single unders. But the question is great because no, you can't change the workout anymore. You either do it as written as RX, or you do it as written as scaled, or you do it as written as foundations. You can't tweak it anymore. Which is fun. It kind of, that really gets you out of your comfort zone and gets you your first muscle up or gets you your first pull up because you're like, well, I gotta try it. I have no other choice. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Plus, the energy of the place really helps. In the evening, like 4 to 7. Yeah, yeah. All the evening classes will be dedicated to Friday nights. Friday night lights.
But all of Friday classes is always the open. So if you can only come in the morning, it's always the open. But if you want that competition atmosphere, it's the evening, right?
Yeah, yeah. Rach, anything else you want to add in?
No, just like I encourage you to do the open. It baffles me how many people don't do it. I'm like, you're doing CrossFit, the whole point of it. This is like the culminating
like the
thing
test
of the year. And it's like, don't take it so seriously. Like I do it every year and I always have some sort of injury or whatever. And it's just like, who the fuck cares? Like maybe you're like, oh, I think like last year you completely missed one of the workouts. And it's like, who cares? I'm not actually competing to go to the CrossFit Games. It's just to do it and to experience it. And especially if you're never gonna compete in like an actual like community competition, like outside of our box, this is a great way to be in front of people you know, in front of people you trust, with your coaches, get the butterflies, you know, and then experience it, but not in like a completely different setting where you're like, oh, I don't know what my favorite barbell is or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, just do it. It's fun.
Yeah, it was like the year after I had my first kid and my back was just like not ready to do 1 million deadlifts. And I know myself that I go in competition mode and I would accomplish it and I would do really well. And I wouldn't be able to walk for a week. So I was like, I'm just gonna skip this workout, you know, and I took the L. But I still did the other two. And that was fine. Whatever.
It's totally fine.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you like got something out of it. Yeah?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Albert.
Put your functional fitness to use by moving the boxes back and stacking them.
Yes.